Have you ever seen someone's entire world collapse in a single night? That's exactly what happened to King Harris. One bad decision at a gas station, reckless driving, a gun stuffed in his waistband, and the heavy stench of weed pouring out of his car was enough to flip the entire Harris family upside down. Think about it. One moment, King was flexing on Instagram, showing off his lifestyle, and the next, flashing police lights painted over that image, revealing something far darker. What made this even crazier? Just as the mugshot went viral, Tiny, the matriarch of the Harris household, dropped the ultimate bombshell: divorce papers filed right after King's arrest. This wasn't just a scandal. This was the unraveling of a dynasty. T.I. and Tiny, once praised as a hip-hop power couple, suddenly looked fractured, broken, and on the verge of total collapse. And at the center of it all was their son King, spiraling out of control, caught between trying to be a man and living up to a dangerous image that wasn't built for him. But here's the real twist. What the world saw that night at the gas station wasn't a random breakdown. This was years in the making. Behind the red carpets, reality shows, and picture-perfect family branding were cracks, deep cracks, in both the marriage and the parenting. And when it all came to the surface, the fallout was explosive. So the question is, did King destroy his own future chasing a fake gangster fantasy? Or did T.I. and Tiny unintentionally set him on this path years ago? Stick around, because the truth will shake everything you thought you knew about hip-hop's so-called royal family. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. Let's get right into it. It was late. The streets were quiet. The kind of silence that only gets interrupted by sirens, screeching tires, or the hum of bad decisions. King Harris was behind the wheel of his car, music blasting, headlights cutting through the darkness. But to anyone watching closely, something about his driving screamed recklessness. Swerving, speeding, ignoring traffic rules. He wasn't just joyriding. He was inviting chaos. And chaos answered. Blue and red lights lit up the night. A routine traffic stop, or at least that's what the officers thought at first. But the moment they approached King's car, the air shifted. The smell hit them immediately. Weed, strong and undeniable, pouring out like smoke from a chimney. The officers knew this wasn't going to be a simple ticket. When they searched the vehicle, the situation went from bad to catastrophic. Inside, they found what no parent ever wants to hear their child was carrying: a loaded gun. Now, put yourself in King's shoes for a moment. You're young, rich, and the child of one of hip-hop's most respected names. The cameras are always watching. The blogs are always waiting. And here you are, standing on the side of the road with police officers pulling out a firearm from your car. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a headline waiting to happen. And it did. Within hours, King's mugshot was plastered across every gossip site, every hip-hop blog, every social feed. His expression said it all. Defiance mixed with fear. A kid trying to look tough when the reality of his choices was closing in fast. But what made the arrest more than just another celebrity scandal was what followed immediately after. His mother, Tiny, made her move. Divorce papers. Filed right after the incident. It was almost as if she'd been waiting for the perfect storm. And King's arrest gave her the excuse to break away from T.I. once and for all. This wasn't just King's downfall. It was the trigger that exposed the fractures in the entire Harris empire. One arrest didn't just put King in the spotlight. It pulled his parents into it too, forcing the world to question whether the family hustle was nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion. And as the internet ripped King apart for trying to play gangster, another question began to surface. Was he acting out of rebellion, or was he crying for attention in a family already breaking apart behind closed doors? When King Harris's mugshot hit the internet, it spread like wildfire. Within minutes, hip-hop blogs, gossip pages, and Twitter threads were dissecting every detail. The image of him staring into the camera, trying to look unbothered, became a meme overnight. But the reaction wasn't sympathy, it was ridicule. Some people laughed, calling him a wannabe gangster, who grew up in luxury but wanted to play tough. Others were harsher, accusing him of being the textbook definition of spoiled kids gone wrong. The narrative formed fast. King Harris wasn't some misunderstood young man. He was a clown chasing a lifestyle that didn't belong to him. On Instagram, comments flooded under his old posts. Screenshots of him bragging about his lifestyle were now being thrown back at him with captions like, "This aged well," and "all that flexing just to end up here." And then came the industry voices. Podcasters, YouTubers, and even some rappers chimed in. They mocked his arrest, compared him to kids who grew up without money, but actually had to fight to survive, and questioned how someone with every privilege could make decisions this reckless. But here's where it got even worse. The backlash wasn't just aimed at King. It spilled over onto his parents. T.I., once hailed as the King of the South, was suddenly being dragged for how he raised his son. Memes popped up comparing his lyrics about street life to King's mugshot, as if the father had passed down the performance of gangsterism rather than the reality of it. Tiny didn't escape either. People began questioning her role, pointing out that she was filing divorce papers right in the middle of her son's lowest moment. Was it coincidence, or was the timing intentional? A way to free herself from the Harris brand before it completely collapsed? It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was public judgment. Fans, critics, and strangers alike were now pulling apart the Harris family, exposing their every flaw, and questioning whether their reality TV image had all been a cover for dysfunction they could no longer hide. And the deeper people dug, the more they realized this wasn't the first time cracks showed in the Harris empire. This was just the loudest. But here's the real kicker. What the public didn't know yet was that the chaos surrounding King's arrest was about to spark a chain reaction that would bring out long-buried secrets, expose family rivalries, and put T.I. himself in a position he never thought he'd face. Long before King Harris was pulled over that night, the Harris household was already a ticking time bomb. From the outside, they looked like a hip-hop fairy tale. T.I., the self-proclaimed King of the South, and Tiny, the glue of the family, had built not just a marriage but a brand. Their reality show, T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, gave fans the impression of a tight-knit clan where love, music, and parenting went hand in hand. But behind the glossy editing and staged family moments, insiders whispered about tension. T.I.'s reputation as a father figure was complicated. He preached discipline and respect in interviews, but critics pointed out moments where he came off more like a strict drill sergeant than a dad nurturing his kids. King, in particular, often clashed with his father's rules, pushing back against the image T.I. wanted to project. Then there was Tiny. For years, rumors of infidelity, trust issues, and emotional distance plagued their marriage. The divorce papers she filed after King's arrest weren't the beginning of her discontent. They were the result of years of strain. Fans who paid attention could see it in the way she carried herself during public appearances. Smiles for the cameras, but tired eyes that told a different story. And King? He grew up in the middle of it all. Unlike his siblings, King was always louder, brasher, more rebellious. While his brothers and sisters seemed content to live under the family brand, King wanted to stand out, even if it meant acting out. Some say his need to rebel was a direct response to the tension at home. Others argue he simply couldn't handle the pressure of living up to his parents' legacies. Whatever the case, the signs were there. Viral clips of King confronting his parents, mocking authority, and trying to present himself as street-savvy didn't come out of nowhere. They were glimpses into a deeper rift, one that had been widening for years. So by the time King was arrested, the family wasn't blindsided. They were already fractured. The arrest just dragged their private battles into the public spotlight, forcing the world to see what had been hidden behind the Harris brand for far too long. And this is where things get even darker. Because the cracks in the Harris family weren't just about marital issues or parenting clashes. They hinted at something far more dangerous. A cycle of image, ego, and survival that may have pushed King down a path he wasn't prepared to walk. The night of the arrest wasn't the cause. It was the consequence. And the fallout was only getting started. For decades, T.I. has been celebrated as one of hip-hop's sharpest lyricists and cultural voices. He wasn't just a rapper. He was the king of the South, a man who turned his street background into a throne. He had the music, the business ventures, the reality TV empire, and the respect of his peers. To the public, T.I. represented discipline, hustle, and survival. But behind that crown lay a different story, the one that played out inside his own home. Being a rap icon and being a father are two very different battles. And for T.I., the line between them blurred. He wanted his kids to respect him, but many times, what they got instead was the full weight of his authority. With King, that approach only seemed to fuel rebellion. Think about it. T.I. built his career telling stories of struggle, pain, and survival in Atlanta streets. But King never lived that life. He grew up in mansions, went to private schools, and had access to luxuries T.I. could only dream of in his own youth. Yet, instead of embracing that privilege, King tried to mirror the same street persona his father rapped about. This clash created a dangerous dynamic. T.I. often publicly scolded King, even on camera, as if trying to correct him through humiliation. Clips circulated of T.I. and King arguing in public, with King defiantly talking back to his father, his voice filled with frustration. To fans, these moments looked like entertainment, but to those who understood family dynamics, it was clear. This was a son fighting for an identity, and a father losing control of the very legacy he was trying to build. When news broke that Tiny filed for divorce just hours after King's arrest, it sent shockwaves through hip-hop media. The timing was too sharp, too deliberate, for anyone to see it as coincidence. It felt like a chess move, one that exposed just how fragile the Harris empire really was. For years, Tiny had played her role as the matriarch. She stood by T.I. through his legal troubles, his prison sentences, and even the endless rumors of infidelity that floated around their marriage. Publicly, she was loyal. Privately, insiders whispered about her patience wearing thin. But here's the kicker. She didn't wait until things calmed down. She didn't file papers quietly behind the scenes. She made her move in the middle of the biggest scandal their son had ever faced. And that raised the question. Was this about King's arrest, or was it about everything that came before it? Some speculated that the arrest was simply the breaking point, that watching her son dragged into the same chaos she once endured with T.I. was enough for her to finally say, "No more." Others suggested something darker. That Tiny had been waiting for the exact moment T.I.'s public image was vulnerable, striking when his credibility as both a husband and a father was already in question. Either way, the divorce filing wasn't just a personal decision, it was a statement that the picture-perfect Harris family brand was over. The reality show fantasy had ended, and the timing ensured that the world would watch their downfall play out in real time. For King Harris, life has always been a paradox. On one hand, he was born into privilege, the son of hip-hop royalty, living in mansions, traveling the world, never having to worry about survival the way his father once did. On the other hand, he grew up in the shadow of T.I.'s legacy, carrying the weight of a name that meant power, respect, and street credibility. But here's the problem. King didn't earn that credibility. He inherited it, and that's where the conflict began. From a young age, King made it clear he wasn't interested in being the quiet, polished celebrity kid. He wanted to stand out. He wanted to prove that he wasn't just T.I.'s son. He was his own man. But instead of finding that identity through music, business, or creativity, King gravitated toward the image that gave him the most attention, the gangster persona. Videos started surfacing of King arguing with strangers, flashing money on social media, and threatening people online. To his fans, it looked like he was trying too hard. To his critics, it was pure comedy. A rich kid pretending to live a life he knew nothing about. And to his family, it was a ticking time bomb. But here's where it gets complicated. Was King really pretending? Or was he desperately searching for respect in a world that only saw him as a spoiled celebrity child? That's why the night of his arrest hit so hard. It wasn't just a traffic stop gone wrong. It was the collapse of the image King had been building for years. The internet saw it as comedy, but for King, it was a public unmasking. The world now had proof that his gangster persona wasn't strength. It was recklessness. And yet, here's the dangerous part. Instead of humbling him, the backlash only seemed to fuel him. Clips after the arrest showed King doubling down, arguing with critics, and even confronting his parents in public. The Harris family is at a crossroads, and the road they choose next could either rebuild their dynasty or bury it for good. So here's the big question I'll leave with you. Do you think King Harris can turn his life around, or is he already too deep in the mess he created? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay tuned, stay sharp, and I'll catch you in the next one.